Game starts in New York with a police chopper receiving a radio report about shots being fired at Azir Plaza. Soon squads are arriving at the place. Then we hear Max Payne's voice telling how he killed them all. 3 years earlier, Max is an undercover detective and a happy family man expecting a baby. But one night, he gets back to his home in Jersey and finds the place trashed and a mysterious tag on the wall. A phone rings and the voice asks if this is Payne's residence and then hangs up. Max finds blood marks in the bathroom and soon he sees a man yelling death is coming. He shoots him down and learns that his baby and wife were murdered. Killers were junkies high on a drug called Valkyr. After the funeral, Max joins the DEA and spends 3 years investigating the Valkyr case. Leads point to mob boss Jack Lupino. Max started to investigate as an undercover agent, venting from small time to big fish in a mob structure. His only contacts were Alex and Bibi. Bibi called him and told that he needs to meet with Alex immediately. As he heads for the subway, he has a strange feeling that something is not right. He reaches the Roscoe Street to meet Alex, but the place is empty. Soon he finds a security guy body in one of the toilets. When he gets out, it turns out armed mobsters are waiting for him. Max kills them, but the whole station is filled with more enemies. Max manages to use the inspection train to get out of the station. Soon, he gets stuck at the dead end and must fight his way through the underground tunnels. He reaches an abandoned part of the station that was closed in the 1940s. Turns out the station leads to the bank's vault through the blown-up wall and Max finds himself placed in a scene of a bank robbery. It looks like the true robbers had been after Azir Corporation bonds. Luckily for Max, they left some explosives and he used them to blow up the door back on the station that led to exit. On the other side, he meets Alex. He explains that Lupino's men are using the station for a bank robbery. Suddenly, one of the criminals sneaks on Alex and kills him. Looks like Lupino figured they are after him and decided to kill Alex and set up Max into a bank robbery. Payne manages to get back on the street. He decides to go to the huddle owned by Lupino. Well, it's definitely not a Holiday Inn. The place is run by Finito brothers. When he asks about Lupino, they answer with gunfire, as they already know that Max is undercover. Max manages to kill them and decides to reach Lupino through his right-arm man, Vinny Ginotti. He learns that Rico Mureta was sent by the Don to secure a drug exchange in the hotel, so he decides to pay him a visit. He overhears a radio news report telling that he is suspected of murdering Alex. He also finds a letter from one of Puccinello's family dons linking them with Valkyrs. Max finds Rico in a hotel bar and kills him and his man. Then he uses an old-fashioned telephone line to eavesdrop a conversation informing Ginotti about Max Payne being a cop and coming for them. Meanwhile, Vladimir, head of a local Russian mob, blows a car in front of Lupino's hangout. Looks like a mob war might be right around the corner. He also makes a fuel tanker crash in the middle of the street and detonates a bomb inside the building owned by Jack Lupino. Max uses the distraction to go after Lupino. He enters through the pawn shop and fights his way to the top where Lupino has his apartment. At one point, he answers a wall phone and a guy named Alfred Wooden warns him that the police are on their way and they are after him. Max finds Ginotti's apartment and fights with his bodyguards while the mobster escapes through the window. Payne goes after him through the roofs and almost gets him, but Ginotti jumps on a bypassing train. So Max also jumps on that train and they land on a building being under construction, and after a long chase, Max manages to finally corner his target. To avoid getting killed, Ginotti reveals to Max that Lupino is at Ragnarok nightclub. It used to be an old church, so it has an occult climate around it. Max gets inside and shoots everything that moves. He begins to find some more demonic books and pentagram signs pointing out that this is much more than a typical nightclub. As he progresses upstairs to the old towers, he finds a stage, and turns out the backstage, hidden under the door, is clearly a Lupino's inner sanctum. No sign of Lupino, but Max finds a letter from Don threatening Lupino to send his henchmen against him. There are also many letters written by Lupino with blood and proving that he must be insane. Soon, Max finds his secret little occult chamber, and there he is, with his men, ready to fight. He talks some spooky nonsense and tries to kill Max Payne, but turns out he manages to deal with him and his men. Payne puts a few extra bullets into his body just to be sure he won't come back as a zombie, and a woman approaches him. She tells Max he got the wrong guy. Max asks if she is Lisa Punchinello, and she says, "I'm Mona Sachs, her evil twin." She says that they have a mutual enemy in Angelo Punchinello, who is actually the one who murdered Alex and framed Max into it. Then they go for whiskey, and turns out she poisons Max, saying she couldn't risk him killing Lisa while going after Angelo. Max has nightmares, where he is back in his house and hears a crying baby and his wife. He wakes up tied into a chair, and the killer, introducing himself as Frankie the Bat Niagara, starts to beat him with the bat. Then he takes a break and locks the door. Max manages to release himself from the chair. He is in the basement of Lupino's hotel. Luckily for him, Niagara left his bat, so he sneaks on Frankie's man and then steals their weapons. Then he progresses through the basement and goes upstairs. Turns out police officers were killed by Frankie and his man. He overhears a conversation and figures Don's killers catched Mona. Max finds Niagara at the bar and kills him. Then he drives, but soon realizes someone is following him in a black Mercedes. Turns out it's Vladimir. Well, he sees Max as his ally and offers him a deal. If he helps dealing with Boris Dime, who has gone over to the Punchinello's side and recovers a ship containing hardware and guns, he will help him with the gunpowder necessary to take down the Don. Max agrees, describing Vladimir as one of the old-time bad guys with honor and morals. Max goes to the docks and clears warehouse area from Boris crooks. He finds a sniper rifle that helps him on this job. Boris Dime is in the engine room. Max kills him and gets the goods. Vladimir informs he is waiting on the bridge, and he is very happy when he sees Max and offers any help he needs, but Payne says he has to do this on his own and only takes some guns. Max calls Punchinello and tells him he wants to trade the ship and guns. Mobster agrees to meet him in the restaurant. When Max gets there, bombs blow up and the place starts burning. Turns out Punchinello also sent his killers after Max. Luckily, Payne finds a hatch leading to a way out through the sewers. Back in the street, Vlad is already waiting to pick him up and drives straight into Punchinello's manor. There, Max finds an open back door and he assumes it was Mona who left them for him to get in. He also keeps in mind that the Don is under protection of his famous killer trio, Vince Maniano, Pilot Providence and Joe Salem. He goes through the mansion and kills all the trio members. Then he finds a body of Lisa or her twin Mona. Hard to say at this point because it's so messed up that Max can't really tell. Alfred Wooden calls and informs that an armed helicopter just landed on the manor grounds. Max finds Punchinello, who starts begging, trying to buy some time. And though his men enter the room, Max manages to take them down and kill their boss. But when he opens the door, he is surrounded by special agents led by a woman. She gives Max an injection of Valkyr and leaves. Drugged Payne has a disturbing vision, with his wife calling for help and the fire spreading all over the building. He also received a weird call that gives him a déjà vu, and the caller sounded oddly familiar. Then he has a vision of the past and finds his wife and confronts himself. He wakes up in a cold sweat, sick and tired. He goes to the half-abandoned industrial area. There's an old steel factory there, and the guys that are protecting it are more than just an ordinary crooks. Those guys are heavily armed. It's a regular army of mercenaries. Max fights his way through the factory. At one point, he hears the radio messages informing that facility has been compromised and ordering to initiate the Operation Dead Eyes. Turns out the factory is fully operational and produces Valkyr. Max feels he is getting closer to the truth. As your security agents kill the mercenaries' leader and initiate the self-destruction procedure to get rid of all the evidence. Max kills them and finds an entrance to the hidden bunker, and he spots a symbol and realizes that's the one he's been seeing all over the city and back in his home a few years ago. The sign says, "Protect Valhalla." He finds a trapped chemist arrested for trying to smuggle some Valkyr out of the factory for his own purposes. Max uses him to get through the decontamination chamber, and soon he finds a computer with the same logo on the screen and learns that this place was originally a research center to create a chemical substance to enhance the stamina and morale of infantry troops, and it was shut down in 1995 due to the unsatisfactory results. Well, it turns out someone decided to continue the project without any authorization. And believe it or not, but the assault on Max's house was a part of a field test with the subjects injected with double dosage. With that knowledge, Max escapes from the factory before it explodes. He now knows who was responsible for the death of his family. He receives a message from Bibi he wants to meet. He realizes that Bibi sold him out. During their meeting, he tries to explain to Max that this is bigger than him, but Max doesn't want to hear that. Soon, a black car tries to run him over, but he jumps aside. Turns out this ambush is well prepared and there are many thugs around the parking lot, but Max manages to stay alive. Once again, he picks up a call from Alfred Wooden. He meets him in the Asgard building. There he introduces Max to an inner circle, telling them they can give him information about Project Valhalla, as they were all involved in the early stages of it during the Gulf War. Key figure is Nicole Horn, the woman that injected Max with a Valkyr back in the Punchinello's manor. She is a president of the Aesir Corporation and has half of the city in her pocket. Wooden says that they want to take her out, and if Max succeeds, they will be able to protect him from charges. And at that same moment, the killer suits show up and start shooting. And Max jumps out of the window to survive. He enters back to the building through the basement, and on the security monitors he sees that the inner circle was killed, but Alfred Wooden is still alive. Exploring the building, Max learns that Nicole Horn blackmailed the inner circle into silence and police is still after him. And actually, Max finds some sex tapes that Horn had on the inner circle members and Wooden himself and decides to take him with him just in case. He finds plans of the building probably left by Wooden showing that the president's office was at the top of the building, right below the penthouse. On his way, he also gets through the library containing rows of cabinets full of files, providing many past operations secretly run by the Serpentine Secret Society. Max deals with all killers sent by Horn and leaves the building, heading from the Aesir Corporation headquarters. The place is filled with ultra-technology security systems and dozens of mercenaries, but Max manages to get through them and progresses up. At one point, he is approached by Mona, and she receives a message from Horn to do her job. But Mona is far from killing Max. Looks like she wants to join him, but suddenly a gunshot fires and she drops dead. After Max deals with Horn private security, he realizes Mona's body is gone. He breaks into the control room and gains access to the secured floors. And while Max searches for Horn, he spots a chopper outside. And he finds her waiting for him with an Uzi and covered by a bulletproof glass. Few more of her security men run in and she uses the moment to escape. Max shoots his way through the enemies and chases Horn on the rooftop. Horn tries to get on a chopper and manages to jump on it, but they need like 30 seconds for the heavy wind to pass before they start. And Max decides to shoot down the steel ropes holding a radio antenna, and it breaks and falls down, crashing on the chopper, which was just about to take off. It blows up and falls down from the building. Max watches the scene from the rooftop, and a deputy Jim Bravura approaches him on a police helicopter. Payne gets arrested. He spots Wooden in the crowd outside the building, and he believes that he would help him clear the charges. And that's how the game ends.